course of two.
Right.
Our township, supervised me down the owner stands pledge the flag.
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everybody. I'd like to acknowledge the declaration of a quorum and open it up for public comment. Anyone wants to comment or question, come forward, please.
Right here.
Yep.
And I live over here on the corner of Bank Lane and Hilltop Drive. And I don't know how many of you folks are on Adams Electric, but they put out a magazine every month, and there's a pretty little interesting article in there about roundabouts and how they reduce accidents and so on. And I don't know all the details of how it works, but I know we've had a couple serious accidents down here at the corner of Porters and 116. And from what I've heard, and maybe I'm wrong about this, maybe that's where I need you folks to help guide me. If you guys would put a red light, the township gets the whole bit, from what I've been told. But since it would involve construction work, and it's two state highways, I wonder if it would be feasible for at least the township to investigate if they could get PennDOT to take care of putting the roundabout in. And I think it's something that's worth investigating, because I think we all agree that the roads we have today were never designed for the traffic they have. And so I'm just asking if this is something the township supervisor would be willing to do, to at least investigate if we can get the state, with all this money they seem to be spending for bridges and what have you, to maybe fix that intersection. And if anybody would like to see this article, I got it here. You're welcome to look at it, but it's in the pen lines that just came out.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, folks? I don't either. I agree, it's a terrible intersection, and a light with, I don't think is the answer. The roundabouts seem to be working well.
And I think they're cheaper.
Yeah. So, we can inquire to the state about that.
Yeah, I think it's
Yep.
smart.
Okay. Very good. Next.
Mark Hudak, 929 Porters Road. I've been looking into the trash contract, and there was a lot of information provided on the right to know. The contract that was provided, I have it here, indicates the contract ended on March 31st of this year. Tim, I know in December there was a meeting, a township meeting. You gave the solicitor permission to go out and solicit bids for the waste contract, and you mentioned that it ended on March 31st. So we didn't hear anything about that until March of that year, and the solicitor indicated that the contract ended on June 30th. So there's a change in the end of the contract period. I have a contract here, says June 30th, but the solicitor indicated, or March 31st, but the solicitor indicated it was June 30th. After you already gave him permission to bid it. So I'm trying to understand, when was the end of the contract period? Does anybody have a question answer on that? I mean, is that important? Is that a hard question to ask? I mean,
I don't have that answer in front of me.
see, I mean, come on, guys.
Well,
You guys wanna,
I would think it would be the date in the contract.
right, March 31st, so you guys are telling us one thing, and it's not the fact. I mean, I asked for a right to know. I know you spent a lot of time trying to defend the township, but you failed to provide me a contract to June 30th. So that, do you have a contract that says June 30th? I mean,
To my understanding, Mark,
I don't understand, I don't want to document.
the contract probably did end the 31st. The bids weren't done and in at that time.
Right,
And I believe they extended it gracefully.
who extended it? The board of supervisors?
And Waste said, we'll give you service till we get this all.
Who authorized that? Penn Waste authorized that?
Well, it was up
I
to
didn't get any
them.
document that Penn Waste authorized that.
That was up to them.
Short bid people. And I wanted to talk about a resident here. I know that they're a Democrat, they were on the board, chairman, and the one thing I say about that person is I asked them specifically, you know, why did they change their party to Republican? If they wanna be here in the township, why weren't they just change their thing to Republican? And that person said, no, I have my beliefs, I stick to them, and I commend that person, I respect that person. But I know there's a person on the board that ran as a Democrat, changed his party to a Republican. Is that anybody here on the board?
Not that I don't know.
You didn't change your party?
Wasn't me.
Wasn't you, Tim?
I'm not gonna answer that. I feel like
I mean, these are
because
simple
you've
questions, what are we
always
talking,
been a
what was
Republican.
what was the question? I didn't run as a,
And what does that have to do with the meeting tonight?
it has everything to do with everything.
Does it?
Yes, it does. But I just think that we ask these simple questions, and your position is, I wanna know the end of the contract period. What is it? I want a contract. You've said, tell us this stuff. I'm asking for documents, and you don't do anything. So,
Well, time's up,
It is.
Mark.
I think you're all six questions here.
Thank you.
Hi, Sandy Scott on Strawberry Road. I have a couple of things. First, I'd like to congratulate Judy for being appointed as a township manager, and welcome back to your appointment. It's good to see your smiling face. And I'd also like to commend Ben for the great job he did up at the park, constructing and installing the covers on the windows, and they look very nice. Thank you, Ben. The other thing I'd like to bring up is it came to my attention after the last rec board meeting ended, was adjourned, the videotaping continued. My question is, and the excuse was used that it was not gathered out. So I guess one of my questions is, Mr. Schultes or Attorney Schultes, is it necessary to gavel out, or is that just a symbolic gesture?
Sandy, we're not gonna.
Okay, let me
we're
move
not
on.
gonna
Let me move
answer
on.
those types of
Okay, if it is just a symbolic gesture, and maybe you can check into that at some point, then I guess what was done was considered unlawful, and it has happened before. Now, in all fairness, I will say I understand, the reason for the videotape. I have used the videos myself, and they are a service. They provide a service. But I think if at your meeting, the videos need to stop when the meeting is adjourned, then at all the other board meetings, because they're an extension of the township, the same rules should apply. And, I think that, the people at the meeting should know that. They should have the same courtesy applied to them that are done here. And if you aren't gonna change anything or do anything about it, then you need to change what's on your agenda paperwork that you hand out that says, notice, video recording during the meeting to video recording during and after the meeting. Does that happen?
Tara Wenzel, 330 Deegan Road. It's interesting that the gentleman here brought up some infrastructure type stuff, because I became very friendly with one of our senators down in Harrisburg and received an email from her in October where she talked about being a part of a group that got $131,790 for Heidelberg Township for infrastructure purposes. And I was pleasantly surprised to see that on the agenda for tonight. But what's on the agenda is slightly different than the note that I received from our senator as to what the wish list was. The agenda states that it just gives a critical new equipment and a utility vehicle. Now, do you have a price amount for that utility vehicle? So we don't have a price for that. According to the email that I received from our senator, the township has also requested a smooth drum compactor, a tilt equipment trailer, as well as the utility pickup truck. So I guess my question is, number one, I would think that all this equipment is going to exceed that $131,000. Number two, before approving all of this, wouldn't the residents have an opportunity to come in? Because if this roundabout might be a better use for some of that infrastructure money. Are there any comments?
Two different groups of money. One is PennDOT and the other is a grant for, that you received the email down, is a grant. So the grant restricts how money can be used. So we can't just say, oh, well, we're gonna throw it over here or put it over there. We've applied for the grant and the grant has restrictions. So we can't.
Can you share what those restrictions are so residents know?
No, I'm not that familiar with the grant, but all grants have restrictions that you use the money for what you apply for.
So was the grant, the folks that this grant proposal went to, did they receive this wish list of a smooth drum compactor, a utility equipment trailer, and a utility pickup truck, as well as other critical new municipal equipment, which there is no listing of?
That was all done under the previous manager, and I cannot speak to what they were communicating.
If you want to put these questions in writing and submit it to our manager, we could probably get them answered. But we just don't have that in front of us tonight.
Well, since you're going to be talking about it, I would think it would be in front of you.
Fernando Castillo, 6826 Cannery Court. So I wanted to spend a minute asking a couple of questions about the park board. I was at the last couple of meetings, or saw the recording for the last couple of meetings. And the park board is, I don't see John here, but the park board is really doing well. It had some growing pains that, I think have been overcome, and the last few meetings have been tremendously productive. Some really good initiatives coming out, some actual, some real work going on. And so I think it's going very well. And it reminded me that at the last meeting, there was some sort of moratorium put on replacing the people into the park board, or appointing people into the park board. And I just wanted to ask the question of what was the rationale for that, and when will that be lifted? How did that come about? I realize that a few people quit, but they have been, there's people on the board right now, and everything is going very well. So I was just wondering what happened, and when will that be removed?
Yeah, we were looking, the ordinance says 5 members,
Yeah.
and we were down to 3, so we're looking for 2 more. However, plus an alternate, yes. Mr. Johnson sent a letter of resignation, so we're now down to 2.
I was not aware of that, of course. That's surprising. Well, that puts a little bit of rain on my parade here. I've actually been incredibly impressed with the last two meetings. They've done some real work, and I think John's leadership has been fantastic during those two meetings. I'll reach out to him. Okay, I have one more question. So that's tragic. I would suggest that, obviously, I would suggest that the supervisors maybe try talking him out of it if you can, and if not, I think that, there's good reason to, I think, keep that, take away that moratorium and appoint new people. And, I think that the board is doing real work. I have another question. One of the things that happened during the last meeting was during the last park board meeting was there was some controversy about the newsletter and when timing is determined for when the newsletter comes out, etc. And I was just wondering, so I looked through the website and I couldn't find any guidance as to how the newsletter is governed, right? So it's it's obviously to some extent the public. I have a few seconds of that. The public face of the township, and I think it would be really great if there was some clarification as to how exactly those decisions are made and by who.
Yeah, so the newsletter is done by volunteers who have other jobs, and so we're kind of at the mercy of, when they're available to do it. That being said, is there an update on the newsletter? Okay, so it's at the printer now, so it should be coming out very soon.
So the concern was that there was a desire by the park board to put some stuff into the newsletter, and that was denied because of the timeline, and it didn't feel like there was a clear governance policy of who ultimately gets those
And
decisions.
again, the newsletter being volunteers, it's sort of hard to put boundaries on that time frame.
And perhaps maybe if you provide a process for acquisition of volunteers to the newsletters, maybe some people would apply.
Okay, thank you. All right, then we'll move on. Motion to approve the October Board of Supervisors minutes.
I have an amendment to the minutes.
Go ahead.
So under public comment, after the top line, after Rec Park Board, that she campaigned for Matt in exchange for promises made. The word frustration on Pat Parrish line changed to disappointment. Olive branches changed to promises in exchange for campaigning. I have your text messages, Matt. And then under Matt, change apology, the words after apology, to sorry that they feel this way. He's not to blame for people who have resigned. So, I want to go back, if you give me just a minute, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. In 2018, I came to the township and complained about some things. And laying there at the table when I came into the meeting were the minutes from the previous meeting. And I looked at it and saw that the comments they had attributed to me at the previous public meeting were not correct. So I simply asked that they correct them, and they did. So besides making this amendment, I would like to see the minutes and other draft copies go out to the public here at this meeting so they can see what we're voting on. Because anybody who was at the last meeting knows that the words campaign were used repeatedly, and they show up nowhere in this public comment. When people came and spoke about getting me to resign, and that didn't show up in the minutes, I attempted to amend the minutes to put it in there. that people had showed up and asked me to resign, that a petition be circulated to get me off the board. So you can't have the minutes protect the people in the government. And you need the minutes to reflect so that when some person who was not at the meeting comes and reads the minutes, they would understand what was discussed. So in my case, nobody that would go to the minutes now would ever know that 3 or 4 people came up to the podium and asked me to resign, and that's not right. And just like this here, the fact that the words campaign were used and nowhere in this minutes is not reflective of what those public comments were last month. Not saying they're true. It's not for us to verify the truthfulness of these statements. It's just to make sure that the true statements that were made are in the minutes.
Oh, if I could add to that.
That's up to the chairman.
Especially if names are gonna be used.
Comments, Matt?
Where does it begin and where does it end?
I don't know.
How many pages of minutes are we gonna?
Right. I mean, there's something called action minutes where you don't really put anything down unless there's action taken. And that is allowed.
Meetings recorded, they can go back, they
Right.
can watch it on YouTube.
Right, I agree. I mean, this is just, in my opinion, political picking.
Don't use names then. Don't put people's names in there. Especially residents.
Mr. Chairman, I know you can recognize her, but she's not been recognized.
Yeah, okay, well, I'm
So
gonna,
you called out people last month. It's
yeah,
not right.
well, she didn't, I didn't recognize her, she spoke out of order. Okay, I didn't follow everything you said, Paul, but I would like to ask Matt's opinion if you feel that the minutes need change to reflect those words. And Paul, I'm not sure where you got the information from.
I was here.
And you remember that word for word?
I remember the general gist of it.
Well, the general gist is also what I think was put in the minutes.
I'm not removing any of that,
Yeah,
just changing a word or two and then adding. I'm not removing anything.
Matt, then give me a second. Yeah, a second that, all in favor? Aye.
No,
Okay, communications. Representation letter with SEK signed for the 2023 audit and to be presented at the December 4 Board of Supervisors meeting by SEK. That'll be done just like it was in past years. They have a representative come present the audit. You don't ask her questions. She presents it. Any questions you have, you take note and then send that into the township and we will get a response. As mentioned, the fall-winter newsletter is at the editor now, at the printer now, so that'll be coming out next week. WellSpan Health, Go and Choose an Adventure Program Report, 1089 participants visited the Heidelberg Rec Park. No Chris tonight? Okay, you want to fill in for Chris?
For the month of September, they responded to 14 calls in Heidelberg Township, 1 in Jackson Township, 1 in West Manheim, and 2 in North Cadorus. That's 83 year-to-date in Heidelberg Township. In the month of October, they responded to 3 in Heidelberg Township with a total of 86 year-to-date. And that's it.
Who's gonna give it to the chief?
In October of 2024, we had 98 calls for service in Heidelberg Township. 7 of those were crashes. Year to date, we're at 943. Our annual Toys for Tots drive will be Saturday, November 16th. That's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And that's in the Bailey bus lot on 116. We were awarded on Friday an additional $2 million grant for the new building. It was a RACP grant. And the cell tower construction continues across the street. They should be setting the tower over the next couple of weeks.
While you have it, Mike, what's your opinion on a roundabout at 116 and Portage Road?
I love it.
Yeah.
Could I ask some
Yes.
questions?
Yep.
About that?
Yep.
That last, really bad accident there, where it was hit and run. Did you ever get that guy? Or gal? Huh? Or gal?
The vehicle has been identified, but it's still an active investigation.
And between the months of September and October, WellSpan responded to 63 calls in the municipality. For the zoning officer report, we issued 1 permit for building and collected $50. That permit is currently on hold due to failure to obtain other required permits.
The solicitor reminded me that the audit will be available for inspection at the township building after November 9th. So if you want to come in and get a look at it, you'll be able to do that after November 9th. Finance. Sorry? Oh, missed it. I'd like to make the motion to approve additional 90-day extension for hard nutting plan for outstanding comments. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we'll move down to the finance. A motion to approve October's treasurer report. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to approve the bills paid report. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Discussion.
Yep.
So, last month, I voted for the first time in a couple of years, it seemed, for the bills paid report. The reason why I had been voting no is because I had been blocked out of doing my job by the previous manager. I was not asked to approve any invoices. I was not asked to sign any checks. And if I didn't have eyes and hands on it, I wasn't gonna vote for it. So I voted for it last month because I did. I did again this month, but I'm gonna vote no because there was an unauthorized expenditure of money contrary to an agreement we had in an executive session, and it was authorized by the chairman. So I'm gonna be voting no, and I just wanted to explain my vote. Thank you.
Okay. I would contest that it was unauthorized, but we'll move on. Motion to approve upgraded township building lights through the
They're
Med.
still back at October bills.
Oh, yeah.
Make a motion, we approve the October's bill paid report.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No,
Also make a motion, we approve the treasurer's report, the October treasurer's report.
we did that.
We did?
Yeah, we did that, and I thought we did the bills paid because Paul commented, but that's okay.
All right.
Let's watch out. Okay, back to the lights. Motion to approve upgraded township building lights through the Med rebate program in the amount of $3,868 to be paid from the COVID funds. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to approve the 2025 animal care and housing agreement fee from the SPCA in the amount of $2,287.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion to approve 2024 real estate tax refund for W.C. Myers Family Farms LP in the amount of $89.51.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye. Right to new request, 0, new request received, yay. Budget discussion 2025. I'd like to make a motion to advertise the 2025 budget. The 2025 proposed budget.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. No, Chris again. You wanna do it?
Okay, for the road maintenance report, we did some shoulder work on Hilltop and Rose Point. Mill Road, we had a storm drain opened, gutter maintenance, and it was swept. The grant was approved for Sycamore Drive repairs and Oil Creek Bank stabilization. The project is complete with thanks to North Cadorus Township for use of their roller and Jackson Township for use of the backhoe, which they also used on Mill Road. The road remains closed pending the tree limb removal from a tree beside the road. Our tree trimming is scheduled for Sycamore and Hoff. Sign replacement to commence on Mangus Mill, and Old Hanover. The $131,000 grant was received to purchase service body pickup truck, equipment trailer, and roller. We had the loader repaired and serviced. The Sterling dump gate latches were rebuilt. The chute and pintle were repaired. The Mack dump gate latches were also rebuilt. Plow lights have been replaced on the Ford. The International was repaired. They have begun the winter prep with plows and spreaders will be mounted when appropriate. We have plenty of salt and anti-skid on hand to at least get started. The orange pavilion canopy at the top of the hill has been removed for the season. The snack shack windows were replaced and the shutters were constructed and added, and the shack has been winterized. And lastly, the dog waste stations have been placed in the park.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the engineer's report from C.S. Davison.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Recreation, Peg, you're up.
Good evening, I'm Peg Moulton, Laurel Woods Lane, and I'm also the Heidelberg Township representative for the Hanover Trolley Trail Operation Committee. I'm give a monthly update on what's been going on with the development and construction of the Hanover Trolley Trail. As you know, we're entering the winter season, but the Oil Creek Restoration Phase 1 was completed, and we actually did a walk through with the engineer and the land studies people, and it is the water flow on Oil Creek is now working as it should be. There's streams coming up, bubbling up from underneath, and we have wildlife that are using the water, and it's flowing as it should. The other update is that the dog leg, is what I call it, that is going from along the Wareheim property line to connect over to where the trolley trail will be constructed. That was paved last month. Now, you can't get to it yet from Gibbs Run Road because we haven't built the connector over from where the trolley trail ends at Gibbs Run Road on the Penn Township side. But in the spring, that will be, as soon as we work out some glitches with Med-Ed, that will be finished. It's a short distance and then connected over. And then paving on part of the Phase 1 Hanover Trolley Trail will also be underway. At the same time, they're going to be doing Phase 2 of the Oil Creek Restoration out to Jacobs Mill. So this is very exciting. I expect by this time next year we will have usable trail and a beautiful waterway in Oil Creek between Gibbs Run Road and Jacobs Mill. That being said, I want to invite everybody, or make sure everybody is aware that next week, the Heidelberg Township Planning Commission will be having a meeting as usual, and the purpose of this meeting is to follow up on questions and concerns that came up at the Planning Commission meeting in September regarding design and development of a possible trailhead parking lot. There were concerns expressed, questions expressed, and the representative from the Rail Trail Authority was really the past chairman of the Rail Trail Authority, and it was apparent that we needed more detail. So the person that's going to be presenting on behalf of the Rail Trail Authority, specific for this project, is named Jeff Shue. He's with C.S. Davidson and is well known to our engineer. So they work synergistically, which is a good thing, I think. Jeff, if you haven't heard him before or met him before, please come and join us at that meeting. I'm not presenting, I'm just going there as a citizen. But he is extremely capable, competent, and very good presenter. Any of you that came to the open house in January that we had at the Mengus Mill Church, that's the same guy that was there with lots of detailed charts, and actually so much detail was a little bit over my head for sure. But he will be there, and this is a chance to ask questions, express concerns, have a dialogue. They want to hear people's input and make sure that this is going to be a workable solution to everybody, so please do that. I will stay behind after the meeting as usual to answer specific questions. It's a little hard to see this map, even though it's a big map, so I'll be around and we can talk about it after this meeting, or please come next week to the Planning Commission. Yes?
Okay, when's the meeting?
The meeting is next Wednesday at the Township Building at 6 p.m. No, 7 p.m. What time? 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Planning Commission. Yes. Tara?
I just wanted to mention, you come in month after month after month as our representative, and the
Yes.
work that you have done to keep everybody informed, I, for one, have to say I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate those comments. And I'm learning so much, and I enjoy doing this. The next meeting of the operating committee will be the following week. So we meet every other month, and probably even more frequently as time ramps up to finish this project. So, and I'll be sure to keep you informed. I know I got a little preview of the newsletter that's coming out. That's for the Heidelberg Township. That's going to feature a lot of details also about the trolley trail. So I'm excited to see that. Also, I asked Judy to post, there's something called e-news link, e-trail news link, to the Heidelberg Township website. These are one-pager newsletter that they put out monthly from the Rail Trail Authority, and it's all about the Hanover Trolley Trail and Heidelberg. So I don't know if you got a chance to do
I posted the link to the Rail Trail Authority.
that. Okay.
From there, they can go to.
Okay, so you can go to the Rail Trail Authority, and there's the September link there and October link there, and they both have a lot of detail about what I'm talking about also. Thank you, Tara. Yes. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Pat.
Yes, go, Paul.
Yeah, so the trees, the lumber, whatever it is in the farm field, what's that,
That's stockpiled wooden, it's debris stockpiled, and it's gonna be used in the phase 2 restoration of Oak Creek. That material is reused in, you don't see it now, the part that was already used in phase 1, because underneath other layers of soil and ground. It's organic material that's put there purposely to work with the infrastructure, if you want to call it that, of the creek restoration, and it will decompose naturally over time, but it's an important part of the restoration process. We can also talk a little bit about that at the Planning Commission if anybody has a question, because Jeff is familiar with some of that as well.
I just got a lot of questions yesterday about, can I take some of that wood?
No.
And I told people I'd find out.
No, that is being stocked. First of all, it's on
Somebody's.
township property for part of it, and it's also on the corridor for the rail trail. It's being stockpiled specific for that project. No, you cannot take that wood, and it's junk wood anyhow. So it's really, it's not wood that you would want to burn in your fireplace, and it's not wood that you would want to build hardwood floors with. It's really specifically stockpiled for the creek restoration. Yeah, I know it's unsightly right now, but it'll get better. Yeah. Oh, by the way, the plantings along the part that's been completed are gorgeous, and they were installed in September, October. There's an extensive list of native shrubbery, plants, trees that's all been planted and installed there, and it's going to be absolutely fabulous as it gets established. So. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Peg. No report from John tonight, obviously. And
Does the, vice chair have a report?
I can do the word.
go ahead.
Okay, so, I am very surprised at the equip because so much is getting done with the rec park. I'm sorry, very sorry to hear that. Hopefully it'll change his mind. We have, been putting out feelers for more volunteers. We had a meeting and approved the, event schedule for 2025 for exactly what the Board of Supervisors asked us to do in the ordinance. On here it says, motion to approve the Heidelberg Township and Red Park bylaws. It was supposed to be event schedule, not the bylaws. John put the bylaws off till November 19th meeting, and it's, pardon me?
He sent these to us and said he wanted them to be approved.
Well, you saw in the minutes that I sent you, we never voted to approve them. We only voted to approve
The
this.
minutes you sent me today,
Mm-hmm.
these went on the agenda yesterday.
Yeah, and he,
So we couldn't.
we never voted on, the only thing we voted on at that meeting was this. This is the event schedule, and I'll give you each a copy of what the rec park approved to do in 2025. And, we need to get approval from the board. We were hoping to get it, we were supposed to get it hopefully tonight, because it takes time to schedule all the, food trucks, the music, all the things that goes into planning an event. So our first event is gonna be in April. It's gonna be the spring event. And that's going to be the, Community Spring Fling, which will be the egg hunt and the family fun day in spring. And then it moves to the summer first, Saturday night out, which we will do the first Saturday night of every month, and that will be music, bounce houses, games for kids. The snack shop would be, we were planning to have the snack shop all cleaned up and ready to go for the April event so that we could be selling foods and things out of there opposite of what the food trucks are doing, to offset the costs of the event. So, that's on there. Then we were, I've been in contact with Providence Church. They are doing their event again this year for 4th of July. So we were going to work where we would have, instead of our first Saturday night out at the park, it would be Friday night, because 4th of July falls on a Friday this year, or excuse me, 2025. So we would have something special for the residents of the township or who wants to come up at the park to view the fireworks. Then the other event would be, after the summer first Saturday night out, would be the fall festival. And as of this time, the Porter's Fire Company still would like to have the trunk or treat, which is growing and the community has really enjoyed, because my store I set up every year to give back to the community. We do games and stuff and candy. This year, we did over 300 bags of candy this year at the trunk or treat. Luckily, the fire company had extra candy and was going around giving people. So it has really grown to less than 100 the very first time we did it. So they said, when I speak with them, if they don't get enough volunteers, because they are hurting for volunteers too, that the rec park board, we offered to take it over for them and use the pool of volunteers that we're trying to get. So that's what was supposed to be voted on, because we didn't vote on the changes that the solicitor put in. We never voted on those changes. John told us to read it over last month, and we were supposed to do it November 19th. So we do have feelers out to a lot of people in the community, trying to get more people to want to be on the rec park board. We do have some interested people who would like to, be in. I just gave Judy another paper that someone dropped off at the store because they can't get over to the store, or excuse me, to the township building during these hours because they work. So I did give her another one, and I was contacted by Mr. Watson, he's a baseball coach, who did baseball coach. He was on the list. He gave an application back when Ray and all of them were considered, and he was asking why no one contacted him to be on the rec park board. So the office has his application for several months now, so I don't know. And if Mr. Johnson Ball is leaving, we would like to get someone voted on so that we can continue to have our meetings and continue to get all of this stuff doing. Dan Wilmot is working with the baseball coaches. He has a list of things that they would like to have, which we were working to work with the 501c3 to ask for some monies for the batting cages that the ball teams would like, and a few other things that have been come up to us. So I hope that these other people can be approved so we can keep going, because we'll need the 3 people for the quorum. So, any questions?
Any questions? So, we can't approve because it wasn't on the agenda, the
Right.
events. And since you guys didn't vote for the bylaws, we don't wanna do that, so we'll table that. And, we're gonna need to replace, we get to it next month. Is it possible to come up with some cost estimates to the township for these events? Just what we'd be looking at? I know that's probably not something you can get quickly, but,
Well, the thing with the food trucks pay us.
yeah.
So we'll have the food trucks, will pay us. The, food that we're gonna be selling in the snack shop, I will be getting donated.
Okay,
What you do is you get area businesses and even the bounce houses. This first round, the April one, I plan to get everything covered through donations. We have a lot of businesses in our community, and what you do is, say the bounce house is $150 for a bounce house. You ask the business if they will sponsor it, and that they can put their signs out, and we will advertise that bounce house or that pet show is put on by Freedom Log House
Yep.
or Mangus Mill Store. They could get, I wanted to talk with her about like donating hot dogs and rolls, and then we could put there that they were donated so that the township could make money for more family events. And that's how we can do it till we get something from the township. But if this is done correctly, all of the events that we do won't cost the township any money, any of the taxpayers any money. And that's my goal, is to solicit from all the area businesses and things so that the monies that you would give, or the 501c would go to repairs of the playground or the actual park itself. But the family fun days that we are doing for the summer, there's so many bands out there. Once you put it out there that you're looking for music, they will send you demo tapes, and this is how we did it with the BOS. They would send you tapes, you go through, you can go listen to them, and then you ask them if they will set up for free, and then they get other gigs from people hearing them, weddings and stuff like that. So it's sort of like they help us. I already have a DJ that volunteered for the trunk or treat, so he already said that they would already volunteer with music and things, and they did a great job here for the fair company. There's a gymnastics group that was here for trunk or treat to advertise what they did. They also are willing to come and do their gymnastic program for the kids, and that's how they get new people. Because advertising, people aren't reading the paper, so you have to do creative advertising. So that's how we would fund, and the monies that we would make from the food trucks.
Mhm.
And once your events are set up every year, what you do is you would have the contract that the Board of Supervisors would allow us to give them, and then every year when they leave, they would pay for the next year. So you always have your schedule a year in advance. So that's how the food trucks, the entertainers, they all do everything a year in advance, because that's their livelihood. So I would have all that, the board would have it all set up, and then you give them their packets of the rules and everything, and what they need to follow for your event. Their application for the next year's would be in there, and they prepay. And there's a fee for prepaying, and then there's a fee to pay closer to the time. And They always wanna save money, and if it's a good event, Ramwell, they will prepay.
Okay,
So that's how we plan to do it.
all right, well, that
Okay.
sounds great, yeah, all right,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
is it possible to amend our agenda to include a nomination of an application that's been in the township for months?
I'm not, in favor of that, I need to look over that application. I think we all need to look over the application, I wasn't aware of it, so I wanna see it first.
Well, it was submitted when, we appointed Ray as the alternate. We had it then.
The other thing is we need 5, it's supposed to be 5, whether we're gonna have to change our ordinance. We can function with 3, I suppose, but we do need to build it to 5, or we need to change it back to 3. I need to look at it, I wasn't even aware of it. So that's my position. Matt, what's your position on that?
Are we permitted to amend the agenda for that? We could do that unless it's an emergency situation.
Yeah, I mean, unless it's necessary, I would not.
I would just sooner file suit.
The only necessary aspect to it would be so that the rec park board would have a quorum at their next meeting.
That's missing 1 month. And it's up to you, Matt. Well, I'm not in favor of it,
I
so.
would just sooner file suit with, put it on next month's agenda, so it's,
Yeah. Yep.
so we're doing the same thing on a monthly basis that way.
Okay. Sounds like,
So if there's anybody else that wants to volunteer for the rec park board, contact the office or see Judy
Yep.
at the end of the meeting.
right. Yes.
I just have a question. Has anybody tried to figure out why everybody's quitting right there?
That's not an appropriate question. Moving on. Water, next meeting, this is the water committee, January 29, 2025. The report from them is they started the process with CS Davidson to apply for the state local share grant to be used for a new water source. And all Q3 water bills are paid. With that, and the solicitor did mention to me that he doesn't have any comments on the ARPA funds tonight, so I'm not sure how that got on the agenda. But you do want to talk about the weed ordinance, correct? Nothing about that either?
If the board has questions about the weed ordinance.
I haven't had a chance to review it yet. I don't know if you have, Matt, Paul?
Well, the ordinance that we were provided with was dated 1985.
Okay,
Is
so
that-
that's the existing ordinance. I guess I was under the impression that we were going to be changing it, but
Well, is that what we're gonna be doing?
I'm not sure there's a need.
So the issue that the township is having is when we receive a complaint for violation of the weed ordinance, it is difficult to serve the property owner in accordance with the ordinance. So one change that the board might consider is to allow service by different methods, not just by certified mail or personal service, but posting of the property and things like that. So service can be effected without costing the township, a lot of money to do it. So that's the issue that came up. And so whether the board wants to address it tonight or at another meeting, it's up to the board.
So in the past, the legal fees that the attorney incurred in posting and notifying the owners was all included in the judgment that was filed for.
Yes, under the ordinance, the code official would do it, not the attorney. So it would be Chris's job to send the notices, serve it. Certainly if the township had to pay to have it served with a constable, I think those costs are recoverable if the township wins. So, yeah. But it's sometimes hard to serve if you're limited to those two methods. So typically, property management ordinances will permit service by posting the property.
Do you need action tonight on opening the ordinance back up and rewording it? Is that what you're asking?
I'm not asking for anything. If the board wants to do that or wants to or not do it, it's up to you. That's just the issue that was raised to me, so.
So in the past, we've had issues with intersections growing out and the property owner not being as responsive as they should, correct? And we're limited as to what we can do.
Well, I wouldn't say it that way. I'd say the ordinance limits the way we can serve a violator. It gives the township the power to enforce it. The issue is service.
Are you in favor of trying to expand the way we enforce?
I don't have a problem with it.
I would be too, to make it easier to.
So what we'll ask is that you have an example ordinance that we could review for the next meeting.
Okay,
Yep.
happy to do that.
Okay.
Aye.
I don't think we need a motion on that, do we? Or do we? I'll make a motion. Make a motion that we ask the solicitor to provide example weed ordinances that improve our ability to enforce. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Yes.
There was one of the options that is already available, certified mail, did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
And certified mail does not appear to be something that would be very expensive. Am I misunderstanding what certified mail means?
Yeah. So we have to, if we send a certified mail, we have to have something back that it was delivered. Most of the time what happens is people don't accept the certified mail. So we get back an undelivered message or, undelivered envelope, which takes like 30 to 45 days to process. So it's a long and frustrating process to do it by certified mail.
Yes.
On this weed ordinance, I have a problem with that because the majority of my weed problem comes from the banks that are not mowed, which is the township's responsibility. And then this sort of stuff grow up and go into seed, and when the wind comes, guess where they go? All that, I've been spot spraying my fields and stuff for I don't know how many years now, and after a while you get a little, and that's a lot of the problem. So whose responsibility is that? If you wanna get on people about weed ordinances, what about mowing them darn things a couple times a year so the weeds don't spread?
Okay. Yes.
Well, in my experience with residents that apply weeds, is a lot of times they're elderly and they might be struggling financially. And I think there has to be a lot of care with us just going out and enforcing it. I don't know if there's, I know there's a lot of residents here that would be willing to help another resident if they're struggling. I don't think the answer would be to start enforcing some sort of weed ordinance on a lot of the residents that can't.
Typically, it comes from someone who observed it, doesn't like it, and complains. That's where it comes from. It's not the.
Like a lot of things, I think it would be like lots of due diligence, trying to work with a person, and as a last resort, when you don't get any movement, or they're just not answering the door, not responding to you. That's when instances like this would be more useful. But I mean, I don't think we're on a mission to be the weed police, not just yet.
We are not. Okay, let's move on. Motion to approve resolution 2024-13 setting wage rates for various township employees, appointees. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to approve pen waste effective January 1, 2025 disposal rates at the York County Resource Recovery Facility because they're increasing. Therefore, Heidelberg Township quarterly rate will be $104.37, which represents an increase of $1.02 per quarter per home. Do I hear a second? All in favor?
Discussion.
Yes.
So this rate increase will go in effect in January or July?
January 1, 2025.
Because our contract is not in ending in January.
Our contract allows for no rate increases, it's written right in our contract.
Escalation clauses that they pass along.
So then we don't even have to approve it unless we're gonna get out of the contract. If it's in the contract, it's automatic. The only thing I was bringing it up for is, again, if we wanted to bid at this point, since the cost has gone up, did we want to put out another bid for the trash pickup?
We already signed the contract for, yeah, for 3 years.
In this bid, we only got one person that wanted to.
That's right.
There is something in the contract. I don't know if
Okay.
There's a comment.
Yes?
Well, I was reading last contract, and it says that there shall be no increases in charges to the customer during the entire term of the contract. The escalation she's talking about is annually, there's a 5% escalation built into our prices. This is something outside of the escalation. The old contract had this language in here. I don't know if there's different language than the previous contract that said they can't increase the rate. Because they already increased it, and now they're getting a 5% escalation every year, effective August 1st, I guess, now. So I don't think they have, I mean, we should check out our contract to see that they can't increase it.
We'll review it. Okay. Let's see. I'd like to make the motion to appoint Judy Mustard as our manager, as the right to know officer. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And with that, I'll turn it over to Matt.
Just go ahead and take it.
Okay. Motion to approve sign at left side bridge and park entrance. That's the sign identifying the history of the park. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Upcoming meetings, Planning Commission meeting, November 13, 2024, 6 p.m. the Township Building, and that is the one with the, yeah, so if anyone interested, show up to that meeting and be heard. I suppose we're gonna have to cancel the rec board meeting because we don't have a quorum. So that won't occur on November 19th. Zoning Hearing Board, meeting November 27, 2024, 7 p.m. Is there business? Okay, so as of now, no business, but it could change. Board of Supervisor regular scheduled meeting December 4, 2024, 6 p.m. at the Porter's Fire Hall. And the next Water Committee meeting is January 29, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. Township Building. And with that, yes. Yes, Andy.
Tim, I'm pretty sure for the rec board meeting that Andrew Mears was scheduled when JMT present that night. So somebody needs to let him know.
Okay. Were you aware? Okay. We'll take care of that. Thanks, Andy. All right, and with that, unless there's any comments, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.